So it was like joy or die. Like, well, you know what I mean? Well, which one are you going to choose? When faced with a life-threatening illness or a terminal illness, what will you do? I came here to live. This is an experience of living, and I'm going to relish it just like all the other life experiences. It was a gift to me because I learned something from it, and I became something because of it. Every single thought is a choice. I choose joy. I choose to live.
Are you ready? Are you ready to find your joy?
Live joyfully. Choose to live joyfully.
Hello there. My name is Shawn. I am the Joy Guy, and my purpose is to help bring joy to people's lives. And the interview you're about to see is with Meadow Alexander. I met Meadow at a New Year's Eve party in 2020 in Salt Lake City at the Capitol building. And as I was at this event, I saw somebody Viennese waltz clear across the room, and 5 minutes later, Viennese waltz all the way back. And I thought, wow, that person's having the time of their life. And I saw Meadow leave with her arms up in the air with a huge smile, hugging all of her friends and singing at the top of her lungs to whatever song happened to be on. And I thought, who is this person? I got to get to know this person. And luckily, somebody who I knew introduced us. And I was so blown away by two things. Number one, by her absolute authentic kindness and happiness. But I was even more blown away when I found out that she had stage 4 cancer. How is this person so unbelievably happy when she is facing death any moment? And that was about 6 years ago. So this interview I had with her, it took years to get, just because she lives in Utah, northern Utah. I live in Southern California. And we talked about it for a long time. And I was finally able to make it happen. But you'll notice that it is a very busy interview, meaning there are 2 locations. One is at her restaurant, where she's constantly looking over her shoulder to see who she needs to serve and to take care of her customers. And the other location is at her home, where there are music lessons going on. I'll insert a clip of her vocal lesson with her accompanist, Benji, who now she actually married. So that's kind of fun. But then you'll also hear music in the background during her interviews. And there were a lot of interruptions from her kids and from customers. I transitioned those out. But if some of the lines of thought seem a little broken between transitions, that's why. And but she's busy for a reason. Everything she has in her life that you will see is a part of what brings her joy. Her kids obviously are going to bring her joy. Music is her way of expressing creativity, which brings joy into her life. Her restaurant is part of her sharing her gift, her ability to create amazing food and an amazing, delightful atmosphere. And so it's a part of who she is. And so it's important to keep that in mind. Now, I have a couple invitations for you. The things that you're going to hear in this interview are life-changing. Some of the things I learned from Meadow, I implemented in my life, and they brought me so much joy. And I'm so grateful for that. Something else, though, as you hear this interview, someone is going to come into your mind and your heart. I promise you that. At some point, you're going to hear something, and your brain and your heart is going to say that somebody needs this. Please share the video with that person, because it can bring them joy. It can pull them out of depression. It literally might save a life. So please share that. If you do like the content, feel free to like the video, and feel free to subscribe. Like I said, I'm the Joy Guy, and what I do is I teach different joy methods and tactics and help people understand how to create a life of joy, as well as techniques to find joy right here and right now. So without further ado, I introduce you to my interview with Meadow Alexander. Welcome, joy lovers. I'm here with Meadow Alexander, one of my favorite people. She is perhaps one of the most joyful people I've ever met. And yet, Meadow, I know your life has been filled with struggle as well. And so I wanted to have this interview with you to understand more fully how we can find joy in our lives based on the experiences that you have had. Do you feel like you were born as a joyful person, or do you feel this is something that you have learned and acquired along the way?
I came into the earth with the energy of heaven, which is joy and love. And I came to a very loving home. And my family experienced a lot of joy because we did so much wholesome recreation in our bodies that we experienced so much joy in our bodies. We had a safe and secure home. We had loving parent-child relationships. And then we played in like Mother Nature, probably daily and multiple times weekly. We would camp, we would go out, we would do sports, we would do hiking, mountain biking, rappelling, climbing. So my childhood was very free and very lovely and filled with beauties and wonders and joie de vivre, I would say. And I think I had immense joy in obtaining from going from however I existed before this plane to coming into a family and being enrobed in physicality and having fingers and toes and eyes and a nose and a body to amplify whatever intelligence I came here with, I would say.
That's awesome. Do you feel like there was a time when perhaps you lost some of that joy or went through struggle? And if so, what were the struggles? And how did you find your joy again?
Absolutely. I definitely did lose my joy for a very long time. I got married very young at 19. And I really loved this person that I married, but upon marrying them, I realized a lot of things I didn't know about what this person was like. And yeah, I had such a strong impression and feeling that that my marriage with this person was the path of my highest evolution and was like the right path, or the essential, or my deep soul was committed, ultimately so committed to this path of loving and being with this person that I had chosen to marry. And this person I had chosen to marry had been through so much deep trauma himself that I think that's all he really knew. Though I think his deep soul knew more, that there was a transformation possible for him. But at the time, all he could do was reflect to me what he had experienced. And so in his reflecting, he was projecting his past experiences and abuse that he had experienced onto me. And so I was abused, like, terribly for the entirety of my marriage. Was extraordinarily difficult. I ended up staying in my marriage for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And I still to this day love very much, deeply care for my former husband. And I don't blame him. But I did suffer very much for a very long time. And there were things that I was gaining. There were wisdom and experiences that were shaping me through that experience, and I would not change it. Even though it's hard to think about. It's hard to look, when I look back at pictures of myself, it's hard to see how much sorrow was in my face and was in my body. And really, truly, I think that the experience, so I had a vibrational experience that took me very low, very down low, where I was very high and it emitted a lot of joy. And then I kind of fell, I would say, into a period of great sorrow.
So you went through this period of 20 years where of abuse and of sadness. So what did that do to your joy, and how did you overcome that in a way that you are so happy right now?
Well, I would say that, so I had a very high vibration as a child, as a teenager, and as a young adult. And when I went into those other experiences, it was like a vibrational fall, like boom, like you're vibrating at this, and then all the way down to a very low vibration of like sort of this, like a lot of sorrow and degradation and negativity, and I didn't really know how to deal with all the negativity that I was experiencing. And so a lot of that negativity, I believe, and that the resonance of that vibration, I think my body began to resonate and vibrate at that level.
When you talk about vibration, can you explain maybe for those of us who maybe haven't had that terminology, what do you mean by vibration?
Vibration, I suppose, like I believe in, I guess maybe a spirit intelligence, that originally I was some form of intelligence that vibrated very quickly, so fast that it can't be seen. And then I entered into a physical state, which is, I think, a little bit lower vibration than the spirit vibration. But I think that all of the emotions are a frequency. And so sunlight is a beautiful warmth and a certain frequency. And our speech is a frequency. Our thought is a frequency. Negative emotion has a frequency to it. And joy has a frequency to it. And so it's like a measurable, sort of tangible, it's not just a feeling, it's a tangible force within an element. So if I'm feeling guilt and shame and pain and sorrow and degradation, that's a tangible state of energy that my body was existing under. And the more of those emotions I felt and didn't know how to process or deal with, it's like an energy that somehow became trapped in my body, in physicality, which led to a tremendous illness. And then, but I also want to say that it could not kill or break or destroy my soul, my living, breathing spirit, and the intelligence is there. And then every experience that I had in that negative, that low vibration, was a gift to me, because I learned something from it and I became something because of it. As also, I have a strong faith in God, and so during the pressure of the negativity and the downward vibration, I was piercing out of that with great faith in God and prayer, great and like mighty prayer, because of the duress that I was experiencing was motivating those types of prayers, because until I feel that God is like a mountain beneath my feet that I cannot deny, that I've discovered as a most great loving and intelligent being of unconditional love, power, strength, support, and almost every positive thing that you can imagine. Yet I believe God also has experienced the negative. So anyway, I also believe that a lower vibration experiences inform us, and negative experiences inform us to what we want. So having tasted certain things, I always felt like I wasn't quite myself anymore, that my trials and my difficulties had diminished my love and my joy and my love life. But I also still had joy in those moments, because I was able to bear 7 children. I was able to create life 7 times, which was miraculous and beautiful. And those moments of creating life and having a child or a being come into your home and your life and your heart is mind expanding, and it's such a privilege to create life. Like, that was incredible. And also the result, I will just say that I'm an extraordinary loving being, and the love that I have is so great, and it would not be that had I not experienced those conditions. Because the Grinch in the movie, his heart grew 10 times.
Yes.
Well, mine was like that. Like, I had a loving, generous, loving heart before I was married, but having this experience of seeking and trying and of loving someone with no capacity to love me back, loving in a charitable way that doesn't expect anything in return.
Yeah.
That can't, and whether or not you're being treated well, do you treat someone else well? Like being a Christian, do I follow those things that Jesus Christ said? Love your enemy, pray for those that despitefully use and abuse you.
Yeah.
I did those things in those times to, as I thought the Savior would, as I thought Jesus would have me to do. So that was my motivation, was to be able to truly, I wasn't trying to put those things to the test. I was just, if I am Christian, I will do this. That will be part of who I am.
Yeah.
I'll use a soft answer to turn away wrath, as the Bible says. So those things influenced the way that I responded to the treatment that I was given.
I agree with this concept that you mentioned, that because you've been through darkness and difficulty, your capacity to love increases, right? And compassion. I experienced something very similar where, and my viewers probably know that I went through a time when I moved all the way across the country, sold everything I had to try and save a marriage, and it ultimately didn't work. And I went through a lot of pain in that process. And I did find the impetus and the joy by shifting my frame about how I saw joy. But when I got back here to California, I had some interesting experiences. Part of my church, we go serve people, and we worked with somebody who was in a home, in a convalescent home, who was very sick. He'd had a stroke. He was in his 40s, and I remember before going and visiting him, and it was. I felt it was a duty, and I'd go and I'd do it, and he would say the same stories over and over again, and I remember just trying to figure out how to get out, do my duty and get out of there without being stuck and caught up in the stories. And I remember when I came back, I had the opportunity to go see him again, and it was a totally different experience.
Wow.
Because I had experienced pain, and so my compassion had grown to the extent that I actually had another appointment set up like 30 minutes after I met him, Shawn. And he was telling me the same stories, but this time I was listening with my heart. I had opened my soul to him and had compassion at a different level. And was it an easy experience? No, but it was a rewarding experience. And I remember having to leave because I had this appointment, and I was so sad that I had to leave my friend who was suffering, and that I couldn't spend more time with him. And it was a true response in my heart that was just, I didn't want to leave somebody who I know needed comfort. So I like this concept that pain, while we see it as negative, it can also be growth, and it can also inform how we view joy, including understanding kind of the opposite, contrasting joy and pain. Now, for you in this experience, and I know you've had others, cancer, I know you've been fighting that as well. How did you get your joy back to the kind of level you have? Because my first memory of you was I met you at a New Year's dance back in 2020 at the state capitol of Utah, and I remember this person, who was you, coming in just like full of joy, like just brilliant with light, and dancing with people in like really fun, silly ways, and just like living like your fullest.
In the moment, yeah.
So how did you go from that darkness to that kind of level of joy?
Okay, well, I think when you met me, so if we fast forwarded just a little bit, I was separated from my husband in, 3 years before you met me. It was when I had my last baby, which was 2016. I separated from my husband, and in 2019, I got a divorce. I was kind of waiting, being patient, hoping that things would kind of work out with him. So after being separated from my husband for 3 years, hoping that things could work out, then I left right after I'd had a baby too. So in February of 2019, I got a divorce. I also got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer.
Oh, wow.
And that was really huge. And something that happens to people, or something that happened to me after being diagnosed, was I began to live very fiercely in the moment. Like, I think you just naturally seize the day because it might be your last moment. You just don't know. I mean, I felt a great confidence and strength when I was diagnosed. I feel like a deep part of me stood up and said, hey, I don't give a damn about cancer. I came here to live. This is an experience of living, and I'm going to relish it just like all the other life experiences. So in fact, that's what I said when I got diagnosed, only I stood up and said it in like a firm way of saying, okay, because this is part of my experience, I will embrace it, right? And so...
I like that concept. Okay, I will embrace it. So talk to me about how that affected your mindset.
My mindset...
And what that's like to embrace something so scary and life-threatening.
Well, I think a lot of my life, difficult experiences that I experienced, I had to change my attitude. Like if you are, say you're pushing a wheelbarrow, and there's a lot of things in it, and suddenly there's more things than you think you can do, and then imagine it pretty dang full, and then imagine just like a ton of stuff dropping in this wheelbarrow, like, so it's like a ton of dirt or something in your wheelbarrow, and so it's way more than you thought you could handle. At some point you just have to have an attitude of like, oh, bring it on, okay, fine, you think I can do this, I'm gonna do it then. And so it's kind of like, if you burst the bubble of what you think you can do, you actually don't know what you can do until faced with that kind of a challenge.
Yeah.
And I had that deep strength in my soul, probably because I had been through that marriage and all the difficulties of that, and because I developed my faith that I could handle the challenge of stage 4 cancer. And really all that really was is facing the trauma that I had been through in marriage, dealing with the vibrational, cleaning up the vibration, raising the vibration of the body back up to the level of joy. And you have to do that somewhere, and it starts right here. Every single thought is a choice. We're not locked into anything. You choose what to allow in your head as far as programming goes. And if you're just running negative programmings of thought in your mind, I mean, you still are a being with the ability to choose at any moment what you will think. So when faced with a life-threatening illness or a terminal illness, what will you do? What will you think? You have the ability to change the body. You have the ability to change the mind. So it was kind of just helping me to see we need to change some things. We can't keep going in this other vibration. Like, that will not work. I'll die. I won't. I will.
Yeah.
I came very close to dying, but so it was like joy or die. Like, well, you know what I mean? Well, which one are you going to choose? And so I choose joy. I choose to live. I choose to have my being and to take care of my body and learn how to figure out this thing. And I had a lot of emotion trapped in my body still at that point. I processed through so much of it now. But at that point, it was like I had to just fiercely live in the moment with so much joie de vivre. And I felt like it was like just so past time to do the things that I had neglected to do while going through my difficult marriage. I had neglected principles while I was going through that. I had neglected the principle of joy. I didn't dance ever. There were things that I neglected that were my choosing, that I was kind of subconsciously going along with the program of sorrow and pain and misery and degradation that I was experiencing on a daily basis. And I didn't really balance that out with self-care and self-love and creating experiences of joy and wonder and bliss. Because if you can choose, I mean, if you can choose every thought, then why not choose bliss and joy?
Yeah. I really like that. Something that you said, realizing that you only had potentially so much time and you had to live in the moment. There's something that I teach called savor the flavor of life.
Yeah.
And it's about like living in that moment and allowing the full experience to penetrate every ounce of your being, taking in what you see, like really hearing the sounds that are around you and really choosing to experience something. And we're here at your restaurant, and I know, you have these really good burgers that you make, and I'm really excited to try one. But I'm thinking, like, how often do we have, like, for example, some really amazing food, right? And we place it before us, and maybe we're eating alone, so we put on the TV or our phone, and we're enjoying that. Next thing we know, we look down and our food's gone, and we forgot to like enjoy the experience of eating.
Yeah.
And instead, when you have some kind of really good food, to take a bite and just let it settle in and feel the flavors. And I feel like sometimes we get in a rut in life where we forget to enjoy where we're at. And so I'm really intrigued by this concept of that you had, where it's like, well, it's now or never, right? I need to experience
do or die, literally. Do or die. And some people could look at, well, you don't know if it's do or die because, you could die anyway. Well, and if I did die, I would want to go out with a bang.
Right.
Or whatever. But there are a couple of keys that I've gained or that I've found and experienced through my recovery process that have helped me to have greater joy.
Yeah, tell us about these keys.
Okay, the key. Okay.